everyone, I'm Ari here with Rachel and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. This week we're on episode 321 asking how important is networking for writers? Before we start, don't forget to visit and follow our Ko-fi page where you can access lots of free goodies. If you're in a position to support us financially, you can become a Merry Writer for just $2 a month and get exclusive content. Everything earned on Ko-fi goes into keeping the show going and we appreciate any support. Okay, so networking. What do we mean by networking? We're not talking about specifically going to some sort of writing event and rubbing shoulders with other writers, maybe some editors and agents, as cool as that would be. And that is networking. But what we're talking about is more for like newer writers. And it's about finding and building community and connecting with other writers and kind of creating a tribe. That's what we're talking about. Because even though writing is very much a solitary type profession, especially if you are writing as a singular person, because obviously some people do like co-writing, you are mostly writing on your own. You're sitting in a room or in a cafe, wherever, and you are just pouring out your story. You do still need connections because it's more than just writing a book. And if you want to be a published author, you do need those networking connections. This episode actually came up because I read a comment on Instagram from a writer who said that they didn't know any other writers or how to connect with them. And, that's quite sad, actually. And it is difficult. I understand that. And it was interesting because the comment was actually on another writer's Insta post. So there was still that connection that this writer had found this other writer's Insta, left a connection, and people had responded. And I think sometimes we kind of feel like we need permission to reach out to each other. It's almost like, oh, can I speak to them? Is that okay? Can I send them a message? Can I leave them a comment? Can I send them a DM? Can I email them? And honestly, if you're new to writing and you see all these writers at different stages of their journey, you might think, I can't chat with them, especially if you see them chit-chatting with other writers who they're obviously friends with. It's like, do you get that sense of like, oh, it's like high school and there's a clique and you're not in the clique? And I think that's where sometimes we get as writers, where it's like, oh, we can't interrupt and get into somebody else's writing circle. We're always on the outside, but it's not the case, and it doesn't have to be the case.
I think a lot of people in the writing community can be cliquey, though, as you just said. And I think that's part of the reason it's so intimidating. And when you go on Instagram or Blue Sky or any social media platform there and you look at somebody's profile, most people's profiles will say no DMs on it. And that can be a huge turnoff if you want to reach out to them. And I understand why people put no DMs because a lot of times we get unsolicited stuff sent to our DMs and nobody wants that. And it can really clog up our feed and stuff. So I totally understand if people do not want to be reached out via their DMs. And it's also just a privacy thing too. So it's not a bad thing if they do that. But I can see how it's a turnoff to a lot of people, especially newer writers. But I also feel like a lot of people will see the no DMs and then they'll be like, oh, well, I can't reach out to them. And then they'll exit out of their profile and that's it. They don't bother to look at their Instagram feed or find something that they posted that they relate to and comment on it. They just look for the DMs and then that's it. But there are other ways to engage with other writers on social media. And that is if you engage with their stuff. And if you engage and like their stuff enough, give them a follow. And, put your name and your face in front of them as much as possible and actually have conversations with them. Don't just be scrolling through Instagram and double tapping every single photo because that doesn't really work either. But also, again, with the click, I will admit when I was part of a writers group IRL years and years ago, we had a couple of people come and go in the group, and then it got to a point where it was myself, my sister, the person who ran the group, and then we had two other writers. And it was the five of us, and it was the five of us for a really long time, for like probably almost a year. And at that point, we had gotten to know each other well enough. We all knew everybody's stories well enough, everybody's writing style, and we even had inside jokes and stuff. So every time someone new tried to join, we would do our best to make them feel welcome, and we would welcome them with open arms. But while we would have discussions, those little, inside jokes would slip in and stuff. And our dynamic was just so tight that 9 times out of 10, that new person did not come back the following month. And it's not that we didn't try to like shoo them out or anything like that. It was just sometimes you find that core group, and sometimes that can be all you really need is that core group. And if you want to find that core group, you have to network and you need to take initiative and reach out to people. And that's the point of this episode.
Rachel's right. There is a clickiness to some of the writing community. So obviously it's not like everyone's open armed and everyone's great. But I think most of the writing community is pretty supportive and friendly. Obviously, there will be a few bad seeds that kind of ruin it for everybody. And if you if you happen to come across those people who aren't very supportive, who aren't very welcoming to you, I would I wouldn't I wouldn't like stop doing it. I wouldn't stop trying because like, oh well, they said something or they pushed me out, whatever. Just keep trying. There are good people, but I also think you have to have an idea of what you're expecting. I don't think it's right to be like, well, I'm going to make lifelong friends. It's like that can definitely happen. Like me and Rachel, we've been friends for ages. We met on our blogs. It's just random. Like, we're in two different countries where we've got our ages are different, and yet we clicked with our blogs, we clicked with our writing, we created this podcast, we created a game. It's like, yeah, so it's there. But if you're going into chatting to other writers with this idea that you're going to be best mates with them like instantly, or if you're going after a writer who is quite popular and you're going to be in their in crowd, it's like that's not how it works. Things take time. Things take space. Crowding people is not a good idea. It needs to be done organically. It needs to be done thoughtfully. It's all about connections to the writers. There are writers at different points of the journey, and it doesn't mean that you have to only talk to people who are at the same point of the journey that you're at. If you're a new writer, you don't have to just find people who are new writers. You can be talking and chatting to people who are published, well published. You can be talking to people who are traditionally published. Again, it does matter about what you're looking for. Like if you're starting to reach out to some author who has a bigger following, if they have a lot more books out, are you going in hoping to find a mentor? Do they know that? That can affect things. If you're going in thinking, oh my gosh, this person's they're like 20 steps ahead of where I want to be. That's where I want to be. I'm going to do what they do. I'm going to follow. I'm going to talk to them. They're going to give me all the information. It's going to be great. They might be absolutely like so busy. They are not in the headspace to be a mentor. And if you're going in hoping that they'll mentor you, that can cause issues. And it might be that, maybe you're asking too many questions, maybe you're pushing a bit too much. And I think that has happened before in the past where writers are like, oh, the community is a bit mean. And it's like, is it mean? Or were your expectations a little bit different to that person's expectations? Were you looking for a mentor and they were looking for a friend kind of thing? So I have no idea why this came out, but yeah, it just spiraled in there. But it is possible to make these kind of like groups and just reach out. And honestly, it's like you have to try. That's one of the big things. You have to try. It's hard. I get it's hard, but you do need to make some connection because you will find those networks and connections useful later on. And again, yes, I'm talking about like, oh, they might help might help each other. I don't think you should go into it assuming you're going to get something from it. It's like any form of friendship. You shouldn't go into something assuming you're going to get all sorts of benefits for you. It should be because you want to talk to that person. It should be because you have a connection to that person. Not just, well, they can help me with my writing ability. They can help me with my journey. They can tell me everything they did. So you have to think about your intentions when you're doing networking.
No, exactly. You got to keep in mind that networking is a two-way street. And staying in touch, especially on the internet, is difficult. So try not to ghost people if you can, unless it's for your own safety, obviously. Then the block button is a wonderful tool. But if someone reaches out to you first, know that it was probably hard for them to do so. So be kind and supportive as you would want them to be the same to you. And you gotta also keep in mind that we're all petrified of promoting ourselves because we are all writers and most of us are introverts. So you gotta think of everyone else like spiders. They're probably more afraid of you than you are of them. So taking that first step in reaching out and showing people that you don't bite and that you're willing to make connections is such a huge step. And it's such an important first step. But again, it's a two-way street. Don't reach out to somebody just thinking that they'll be able to help you with your writing and you won't be able to do anything in return. You want to make networking is for connections and engagement. It's not for help. It can be for help, but it's not only for help. If hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. It shouldn't be a kind of like, well, I'm going to get beta readers out of this. I'm going to get mentors out of this. I'm going to get information out of this. It's like, it's people don't like to be thought of as like someone that you're going to mine information from and details from when they don't even know you. It's not good to do that. So, why is networking important then? If you can't mine them for information, as Rachel said, it's about building connections, communities. It's not just about being helpful in regards of feeling lonely, because honestly, if you're writing and don't have a connection to the writing world, it does feel quite lonely at times. And creative pursuits are often very insular. And having connections, they can honestly give you your first cheerleaders. They can give you your first beta readers and your first mentors. You just can't go in assuming that's what you're going to get and not offering anything else, from your side. It needs to be an actual connection. Like I mentioned, Rachel and I met via our blogs. We both created blogs about writing. I think we both actually created them similar times, didn't we? Like 2012, 13 or something. I can't remember.
I started mine May 2012.
I love how you know the date.
May 16th, I believe.
I'm like, I think it was 2013. I have zero idea what day it was or anything, but yeah. See, this is it. I'm like completely scattered, and Rachel's like, I have a rigid idea of exactly what I did and what day. It's mental. But and obviously we were both writers and we were talking about writing on our blogs and we connected via that. And we didn't just reach out and be like, hey, we should be friends. We should help each other. We should like share data and information. It's like, no, we started with simple comments. We just reached out, read each other's posts, left a thoughtful comment because we wanted to leave a thoughtful comment. And then it moved on to us offering each other feature posts and guest posts and interviews, just small things, and sharing each other's blog posts. And then eventually that moved on to chatting on email and on Twitter and on Discord. And then I forced Rachel to join the Merry Writer hashtag game without telling her how intense it was going to be. And that then morphed into a podcast. I didn't reach out to Rachel thinking, I'm going to get this lass on a podcast and ruin her life for the rest of it by making her do so much work and editing and recording. That wasn't the goal. It was, oh, this person's cool. She's writing about stuff. I like her work. I'm going to leave some thoughtful comments. And then from that, we became lifelong friends and started a podcast that's gone on for 5 years.
6 at this point.
Oh my God, it is 6. It is
Yeah.
6. We're not even bored of each other. We should be. We should be really bored of each other.
We really should be.
Oh my God, sick of each other. But
I mean, really, if you had told me that when we met in 2012, 2013, if somebody said, hey, you guys are going to co-host a podcast together, 10 years from now, I'd be like, no, we're not. Podcast? What's a podcast?
yeah, in fact, like the idea of us both like putting our voices out there, it's like, oh, we're both introverts. Like, no, that sounds terrible. I would hate that. And now we're like here recording and putting out podcasts every week, putting our terrible voices out there. Well, mine's terrible. Rachel's is quite nice. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, it's like things morph. You have to allow the growth from the networking. You're not going in making friends. You're going in making connections. Friendship might come later. Mentorship might come later, but you're making connections. You're sharing your journey of being a writer and you're relating to other people's journeys as being a writer. So, okay, we've talked on and on about this. I am a little brain scattered, which is why it's a messy episode. But how do you build network? Keep going on about it. How do you actually build the network? How do you make these connections? You start small. That should be really obvious, but you'll be surprised how many people don't realize it. You find authors and writers you admire. And I'm not talking reaching out to like Stephen King, The big one's fine. Write to them, email them as a fan. Don't reach out to them as a regular person. No matter how many times Brandon Sanderson might email you saying, hey, I'm interested in your writing. Don't believe it. He's busy. What was I saying? Yeah, so find writers and authors that you admire, that you like their content on. Instagram is a great one. Blogs are a great one. Podcasts, YouTube channels, they're great to find people who talk about things that matter to you, who share relatable content, right? And whether you like their content or their books. And again, you don't have to have read their books. I have connected with a lot of authors and I have not read all their books. Firstly, I physically couldn't afford everybody's book who I'm friends with. And second of all, not every author I chat to, I'm not their audience. Some of the books, I'm just not something I would read. And as much as I would like to support them, I do try and support them in other ways. I share their information. I offer them spaces on our podcast or on my blog, do interviews. It's not always about, well, you have to read their book. You have to do this. It's like, no, you, as long as you're supportive of the people you have in the network, that's all it is. You don't have to go and buy their entire back catalogue. I say that because there are some of my friends have back catalogues, and it would bankrupt me if I bought all their books, as much as I would like to on some of them. What was I saying? I feel like I had a point and I just drifted. But yeah, but that's what you do. You start small, you drop some comments, you ask some questions. If you're not sure about something, ask a question. I will caveat that by saying don't bombard them with a million questions. Don't answer if you ask a question and they answer, don't ask another question straight away, and then another question, and then another question. You should not be emailing and messaging them every day, asking questions or making comments, because that comes across a little bit stalkery. Just saying that now. Like, leave a bit of space between comments. Don't just go through their social media and like leave questions and comments on every post for the past like 5 weeks. That's psycho behavior. Just gonna say it. If they have a blog, follow the blog if you want to, if it's good content. Follow their social media, join their newsletters. Most people on a newsletter, they'll like ask a question. They may ask for updates or thoughts about something they're talking about on the newsletter. Feel free to drop them an email and respond to that. Start a conversation, even on your own. Just like you start a conversation on your blog, on your social media. Ask a question, create engagement. If you are trying to connect with authors and you are the book's target audience, then consider joining their street team or their ARC team. That way you're supporting them in a different way, and you have a closer connection to them because you're doing this extra thing. And you find a lot of people have these kind of built-in connections by being on these teams, because it is a little bit more, for want of a better word, intimate. I don't like using that word. I don't mean it in the way it sounds, but I can't think of any other. If you have a blog or a vlog or a podcast or even just on your social media, you can invite them to do a feature. You can open up options to guest post. You can offer to do a shout out on your social media page. Just a little like, oh, this book is out, happy release day, whatever. Be open about your own writing journey. Let people know what's happening in your writing journey so that then people can come to you. It's not all about you going out and leaving comments and making connections. You open up space in your own area to invite it to other people. There will be people out there who are probably watching your social media going, I want to speak to that person. They seem really interesting. I'd love to connect with them. I don't know how to do that. So put some questions up on your social media. Ask people to engage, not leave me a comment. Just, what about this? Or what are you reading now? This is what I'm reading. Have you read this book? What do you think of this book? What did you like the movie that was made of this book? Usually no. I will add, you do not have to be published to generate interest in your work. You do not have to be published before you reach out to somebody else to make connections and networks. As long as you are genuine, as long as you are approachable, as long as you are respectful, I think you should be fine to make connections and to reach out and to reply to comments and share posts and make those little connections. I've used the word connection too many times. Good God. I need a thesaurus. It's all about being an active participant. That's what that is. Be an active participant. That's how you do it. And to be honest, online is probably easier. I'm not saying go to conferences, although if you get the chance and you can, go to some conferences, go to some workshops, go to some, what are they like, book events, and talk to the authors who have their little tables with all their books out. Go and talk to them. This is where it is. It's talking. That's all network is. It's talking. It's connecting and finding things that where you relate. And my final point is, maybe you're shy. I get it. Maybe you're anxious. We definitely get it. Rachel and I both suffer from anxiety. We are introverts, and we have still managed to do this. And if we can do this, I guarantee other people can do this. It's just start really small. You know, that's why we say get a blog, start on social media, put a contact page on your blog. Just leave some comments. You don't have to DM people. You don't have to make a big deal. Just a little comment here and there. And then if someone responds to you, reply back. If someone leaves a comment, reply, unless it's a dickhead comment, and then just delete. Just small things build rapport. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you can be building a rapport and then it just kind of fades. That happens too. But don't stop. Don't stop trying. Don't stop reaching out.
I think Ari covered pretty much everything, and I like her explanation about, be open about your own writing journey, ask questions, yada yada yada. You make it kind of sound like dating. It's like when you go on a first date and you're like, "Oh, I write cozy mystery. What do you write?"
That's it. It has to be a both. You don't just talk all about yourself, or you don't just listen all about their selves. There has to be a two-way communication. So yeah,
Yes. And it's difficult to do online, I feel like, but I mean, when you have a conversation with someone in real life, they don't just say, "Hey, how was your day?" and you just say, "Good." Or maybe you do. But I mean, that's not what a conversation is. You have to reciprocate, and it has to be a two-way street. And there was something else I was gonna say. It doesn't have to just be through social media or websites or blogs either. You can also find writing communities through places like Reddit or Discord. And I mean, I'm part of a handful of writing communities on Discord, and there are some times that you may find a community that you realize, oh, this isn't the best fit for me. I shouldn't be here. And then you just leave the Discord community, and voila. And just make sure you don't accept any friend requests from people that you don't know and haven't built a little bit of credibility with first. Make sure you protect yourself online because, again, most networking these days is done online. So you do need to be careful about who you're actually speaking to and how much information you're giving away. But you still need to be open to the conversation and open to, you know, open. I don't know where I was going with that. But you looked like you had a thought, so go ahead.
no, but that was a really good point. And I love that I'm repeating the same word. You're repeating the same word. Yes, like you said, don't be just taking connections. Like there are some great places online, like Reddit and Discord. There are also some of those can get very toxic. So yes, be aware. And also, please, for the love of all the jelly in the world, do not get swept up by someone who suddenly appears friendly and happy and supportive and offers to mentor you and you should join their course. There are a lot of sharks out there. These people who claim to be best-selling authors, and if you look like in 2 seconds, you realize either they're not an author, they're certainly not best-selling, or it's no offense, it's one of those categories where it's like, isn't everybody a bestseller in that? There are so many scams out there, people who claim to be great writing coaches, and oh my gosh, I've just got one more slot just for you. I'll give you a discount. Or even the ones where it's like, oh, I'm an agent, and they kind of talk you up and they have this sort of sense of like, oh, I'm going to get you. Like, no, that's probably a vanity. It's probably something somewhere where they're trying to get money. We're talking about networking. We're not talking about being scammed. So if anyone wants you to give credit card details, payments, any special offers or deals they're trying to offer you, no, do not take anything. And certainly don't do anything on a quick thing. If they're like, oh, I've got one slot left, you'd be a great fit. I think you're wonderful. I think you'd be I love your writing story. Nope, nothing should be done fast. You research it, you check it, you go to what's it? Writers Beware. Writers Beware is brilliant. Check everything. Go onto Google and write that person's name and put scam and see what comes up because you will be surprised how many of these people are scammers. And they're very good, they're very manipulative, and they say all the right things, and you think you've got a nice little connection with someone. But if they're trying to take your money, no. Mm-mm, no. If they were so great, why aren't they doing their own book like that? I have seen so many pop up and they're saying, oh, I could guarantee you sales. And it's like, well, where are your sales? You claimed you're an author. I want to see your sales sheet. I want to see how, because like you're a multi best-selling author. I haven't heard of you. I can't find you anywhere on any of these lists. So please protect yourself, especially because they're very good at making you feel, building you up about your writing, about how great it is. And it might be great, but it shouldn't be costing you some random person, handing out your credit card. Don't do it. Don't do it. Sorry. I've seen a few like that and I've been getting very angry at them.
Well, that said, be on the lookout for the Merry Writer podcast course that will be available to each and every one of you for $4,999.
If you order now, It's only $4,959.
Ooh, that's a steal, guys.
But it's going quick, people. It's going quick.
Yep, you got to go onto our coffee page and tip us $50 to get access to it. To save that $50, you have
Connections to us. It's like you have to pay to talk to us directly. It's like I would rather pay not to have to talk to people because it stresses me out.
I know, right?
But yeah.
Wait, we can't say that. This whole episode's about networking.
I know.
Cut that out. Cut that out. Alrighty. I think you covered pretty much everything. I really don't have anything else to add other than be kind to each other. That's all.
Yeah, and that most of us are actually quite nice if you reach out to us. We will answer questions, we will try and help, we will try and make connections. We're just saying that the most of the writing community is good, and the parts that aren't good, it's not all of us. Just step away and come find the rest of us who are quite nice. Okay, now we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about networking? Yes, we do hate that word too. It's crap. It gives businessmen in a room all like handshaking intently and bragging about their, I don't know, 401k. I don't even know what that is. I'm not American. I don't know what that means. It's something about pensions, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, what am I saying? So how do you connect with other writers, or have you been struggling to connect with other writers? And if so, leave a comment below. Start the ball rolling. Talk to us. We won't answer, but we promise we will answer eventually. And that's not because we don't want to answer. It's because I am terrible at remembering to log into our YouTube and respond to answers and questions and stuff.
I was going to say Ari will respond to you because I never remember to check the comments.
To be fair, Rachel sorts all the scripts and our spreadsheet, and I cannot be bothered with that. So she just takes it on and just fills everything in really nicely. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to answer questions. And then I'll remember to log in.
I leave the socializing to Ari. That's the harder part.
I literally dragged you into this stuff, and now you're just leaving me to deal with the worst part, socializing. Anyway, what was I saying? Remember, we do release new episodes every Wednesday. Next week, we are apparently discussing how to set up a book tour. I did not realize that was a question. That's cool. I need to know about that. To ensure you don't miss it, hit the subscribe button on your way out. And if you'd like to learn more about us, do check out our website, themarywriterpodcast.podbean.com, and go and visit our coffee page for more content. Thanks for listening to the Mary Writer Podcast, and we'll see you next week. This podcast is brought to you by New Ideas. We're easily distracted. That is so true. The music titled Inspired is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.